Hey up everyone, it's Demis Hellen here. We're going to recreate the Darude Sandstorm preset in Dune 3 today, and if you're on Dune 3 that is great news for you, but you can recreate this in any other synth. You're just going to have a little bit of a different approach in your workflow. I'm going to quit the waffling, let's get started. So to get started with the Darude Sandstorm lead in Dune 3, you can follow along by the way at home if you want to, just pause the video and copy the settings. This is one of the easiest presets that you're ever going to make. It is stupidly simple on how this is made, so there's a couple of different angles that we can get this from, but this is in Dune 3 and you can recreate this in any synth, just Dune 3 seems to do it a lot better for me. So the second oscillator is going to go up to 1 voice. And we're going to have this on a pulse or a square here and turn the volume up. And I'm going to hit reset on both to make sure the phase points are in the same place for a solid sound. And for now, we're going to leave the oscillators. There's a couple more things we need to do, including the tuning for this sound, but we're going to go and get the rest of the sound going here with some effects and the light distortion effect in particular in the filters. You're going to see this is going to give the edge on the sound, which just really sounds and gives it that final polishing touch. It sounds really nice. So light distortion. And you can hear that those harmonics are coming through and giving us that classic sound already coming through. So moving on to distortion in effects bus 1, we're going to use the saturation and I'm going to drive this up to about the 10 o'clock position. And that will do. Then I'm going to add some reverb and I'm going to turn the dry wet down a little bit so we've got very minimal mix. Okay, and then we're going to put some delay in there as well. Just copy the settings here. We're going to use 1/4 dotted and 1/4. And this is roughly how it is in the original preset as well. Turn the feedback down and the dry and wet. So we're just aiming to have that dotted quarter note there appearing in the left ear, really just for one dominant echoed note, one delayed note, and then the rest are falling off pretty quickly. So you'll hear there's just one dominant delayed note. It does fall off, but that is very inaudible when the track is in position. So if you really want to get it nailed on the head, you can just turn the dry wet down on the feedback a little bit just to balance it out a little bit more. So the tuning is where this comes into place. So we're going to leave the saw wave where it is, and we're going to go to oscillator number 2, and we're going to pitch this down 2 octaves to start, so down to -24. But then there is a 7th drop in this as well, so we're going to drop this down to 31 or -31. And you can start to hear that gritty texture, classic texture coming through. We just need to do one more thing, which is adjust the pulse width. And I'm going to adjust it to about here, about 90-ish%. That's where it's going to start kicking in. You can hear if we have that too low, we're not getting the crispiness and that sort of transient coming through of the sound, which it's classic for. So if we have it too low, that's too bassy around here. And what this does is also acts as a bit of an EQ and it rolls off that low end. So it's getting rid of the lower frequencies and really focusing on the mids and the highs, which gives the classic sound that we all love and know. So we can change this up a little bit. I would recommend Oscillator 1 not be a digital waveform or a virtual analog. I would use a wavetable and use something like the vintage saw that comes with Dune 3. And this is going to give you a different texture yet again. We can have it a bit sharper by using the position. You can see the shape's a bit sharper, or we can have it more rounded. So let's have a listen to how that sounds. You can hear more of the square influence now. That's like the squelchy bit in the middle of the sound design. If we switch that back to the virtual analog whilst it's playing, you're going to hear it sounds a lot sharper, but too digital, and it doesn't sit close enough to the original for me. For me, you need those rounded edges on the saw. You need something more analog because that's where the sound came from. You don't want these super perfect sharp edges that the virtual analog synthesizers offer. You want to go for something that's got a little bit more of a vintage vibe to it. And by all means, if you've already got the JP8000 wavetable that comes with some of my packs, you can load that into here as well via the edit menu, and then you can import a single cycle wave and obviously use that as well. But that is our classic sound there. We've got the classic delay. We can add a bit of chorus on there. Let's just do that before we finish up. It just helps take the edge off the top end of the synth again and just adds a little bit more smoothness, but not so much that it deters the sound from being quite sharp and syncopated. And there we are. If you've been following along, you now own the Darude Sandstorm preset for Dune 3. You can recreate this in other synths. If you want me to recreate it in another synth, please let me know. I might be able to recreate it in Vital, but Dune 3 just has a better sound engine for recreating these sort of classic sounds, as some of the things have been modelled off things of the same era. If you have any questions about what you've seen in today's video, let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you think it deserves a subscription, and I welcome you to the Demis Hellen community. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.